Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is HDMI cables and ports demystified. At last Monday's Tech for Seniors meeting, Carl Kalenda posted a note in chat saying he would appreciate it if I would do a tech talk on HDMI and perhaps more specifically define the difference between HDMI 2.1 and HDMI 2.1a. Fellow TFSer Dick Vogel agreed with Carl's suggestion. Got a little dirty secret for you. Truth be told, I don't really know much about HDMI cables, ports, and standards. I don't know any more than most of you. The same goes for many of the tech talks I write. Surprise. My ace in the hole is having been a teacher for 36 years. I taught both band and orchestra and had a penchant for organization, study, and research, and I really enjoyed writing on the side as I had time. The acronym HDMI stands for High Definition Media Interface. High definition video and audio is digital. Digital replaced analog video and audio because it was simply much higher quality. An early HDMI logo is at the left, and a more recent HDMI Ultra HDR logo is at the right. The term media is broad enough to include every kind of device used to transmit digital video and audio, like cables, ports on TVs, computers, DVD players, and so forth. The term interface, as used here, simply means connector or connection. A Google search revealed that HDMI was developed cooperatively by 7 companies, including Sony, Hitachi, Philips, and the parent companies of RCA and Panasonic. HDMI 1.0 was released on December 9th, 2022, and was based on standards for a single cable which would transmit both digital audio and video and had a reliable connector interface. The first significant improvement was HDMI 1.4. Released in 2009, it was designed to transmit 4K video up to 24 frames per second. Minor revisions 1.4a and 1.4b followed. HDMI 2.0 was released in 2013, HDMI 2.0a in 2015, and HDMI 2.0b in 2016, which increased the bandwidth from 10.2 gigabits per second to 18 gigabits per second. HDMI 2.0b was a significant upgrade. It supported 4K video at 60 frames per second in all forms of high dynamic range and set foundational standards for the upcoming 8K resolution TVs. HDMI 2.1 launched in 2018. Now that's new, 2.1. Launched in 2018 and supports frame rates to 120 frames per second, doubled it, and 4K and 8K video to a maximum bandwidth of 48 gigabits per second. HDMI 2.1 cables are also known now as HDMI Ultra High Speed. Note the logo to the right, and those are the cables you need to buy. Don't ever buy anything less than that. Please note that these improvements that we've talked about have seen HDMI cable bandwidth increase from a starting 5 gigabits per second out to 48 gigabits per second. Note the graphic displaying the changes. And also it increased frame rates from 24 frames per second to 120 frames per second. It's amazing progress. I need to mention that talk about HDMI ARC. It's an HDMI port on TVs since the 2009 launch of HDMI 1.4. The HDMI audio return channel, ARC port, connects your TV and audio system using a single high-speed HDMI cable. Now, one clarification here. Remember, HDMI ports on your TVs are essentially inputs, but the audio return channel outputs on the same cable an audio signal to your external devices like your audio system or soundbar. This eliminates the need for an additional composite audio or optical audio cable to send this high-quality audio to a soundbar or AV receiver. The 2018 launch of HDMI 2.1 included a significant upgrade to enhanced ARC, known as EARC. Since HDMI 2.1 has a higher bandwidth than HDMI 1.4, it can transport the original audio signal through an HDMI cable and reproduce it with the best sound possible without any compromise. Now that I've pretty much brought you up to speed on 2.1, it's time to get back to the original query about the difference between HDMI 2.1 and HDMI 2.1a. That's what this talk was supposed to be all about. A February 8th, 2022 article by Simon Cohen in digitaltrends.com offered a wealth of information about HDMI 2.1a, including this introductory statement. Listen on. The first thing you should know about HDMI 2.1a is that you probably don't need it. As a minor update to the HDMI 2.1 specification, it only introduces one new feature, source-based tone mapping, and it's called SBTM. He went on to say that unless you're a gamer looking for the ultimate in HDR performance, or a PCR user who routinely works with a combination of standard dynamic range and high dynamic range content, you can safely ignore the HDMI 2.1a standard for a long time to come. A significant portion of Simon Cohen's February 8th article was devoted to a detailed explanation of SBTM. I'd suggest that anyone interested find Simon Cohen's article, which is called HDMI 2.1a is on its way. Here's what you need to know. If you're wondering if HDMI 2.1a is available now, the answer is simply no. For starters, manufacturers haven't even yet declared support for SBTM, which is the primary thing different about 2.1a. The HDMI Forum is a group that guides and develops new HDMI standards, and it plans to release the HDMI 2.1a standard by the end of this month of March. But we probably won't see new products touting SBTM until 2023. To take advantage of SBTM, all of your media devices will need to be upgraded to HDMI 2.1a. This includes gaming consoles, streaming media devices, TVs, AV receivers, soundbars, and so forth. Fortunately, many devices, sources, and displays sold in recent years will be firmware updatable, in order to support the HDMI 2.1a standard. However, there's no real guarantee that even if your TV is physically capable of handling 2.1a, that your manufacturer will indeed issue an update. You just don't know. Also, it's unlikely that you'll ever need to replace your existing HDMI cables for SBTM or 2.1a. SBTM uses extended display identification data signaling to communicate a display's capability to a connected source device. EDID has been a part of the HDMI specification from the beginning, from HDMI 1.0. The HDMI licensing administrator, which oversees the way HDMI capable products are marketed, has a clear rule that manufacturers of products like TVs, DVD players, streaming devices are obligated to list the specific HDMI features they support. Now, for example, this would include in HDMI 2.1 things like EARC, variable refresh rate, and 4K video at 120 hertz. If you're talking about HDMI 2.1a, of course, it would include SBTM. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm sticking with it. good Lord knows I sure ventured out into the weeds toward the end on this one. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe. And the good Lord willing, we'll be seeing you next week. I want to mention also that we're just rounding out the end of our wintering here at our little tin shack with lean-to at Silveridge in Mesa, Arizona. And if things get too busy, I might have to not be here for a week. Well, anyway, see you later.